she cheated on me with the one guy she knew would hurt me the most. So I decided to get the ultimate payback by sleeping with every single one of her closest friends and watching the shock on her face as she realized I had turned the people she trusted most against her. If you've ever been cheated on, you know there's a special kind of pain that comes with it. It's like someone took your favorite slice of pizza, licked it, threw it in the trash, and then fed it to the neighbor's dog while making eye contact with you. But see, for me, it wasn't just the cheating. It was who she cheated with. Chloe Matthews, my girlfriend of 3 years. She had the kind of smile that could convince you to donate both kidneys to a stranger. Social, bubbly, the queen bee of a friend group that looked like they were handpicked by Instagram's algorithm. And then there was Brandon Carter, my childhood best friend turned nemesis. The guy who once accidentally told our entire high school that I cried during Finding Nemo. The guy who stole my first girlfriend by telling her I had commitment issues because I didn't want to go to prom in matching neon tuxedos. The guy who, if you asked me to name one person I'd never want near my girlfriend, would be at the top of the list. The list was literally called Brandon Never in my phone. And yet, here we are. It happened on a Thursday. Not a dramatic Friday night or a suspicious Sunday afternoon. A boring, nothing special Thursday. I was sitting in my apartment, eating a leftover burrito, scrolling through memes when my phone buzzed. It was a video from Chloe. At least I thought it was for me. I tapped it open, expecting maybe a cute I miss you clip or one of those TikTok dances she occasionally tried to rope me into. Instead, Brandon's stupid voice, Chloe's laugh, and then them together. I almost dropped my burrito. My brain couldn't even process it at first. It was like opening your fridge and finding a live raccoon wearing your favorite hoodie. She sent it to me by accident. She thought she was sending it to her best friend Lily because apparently this was something she was proud of enough to share. I stared at the screen for a full 30 seconds before my soul left my body. Then I called Eli. Eli is my roommate, best friend, and the human equivalent of a raccoon who learned how to use a credit card. He picked up on the second ring. Yo, she cheated on me with Brandon? Yes, with Brandon. I told you that guy looked like a knockoff Ryan Reynolds if Ryan Reynolds had never showered. I threw myself on the couch, still clutching the burrito like it was my emotional support animal. What are you gonna do? Eli asked. Cry. Move to the mountains. Become a hermit. Boring. You need revenge. That's when Eli leaned forward like he was about to pitch me $1 million idea. And in a way, he did. Sleep with all her friends, he said. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. What? That's insane. Exactly. You want insane. You want something she'll never forget. She'll see you at the grocery store in 30 years and still be mad. That's not possible. Eli raised an eyebrow. Really? Let's make a list. Chloe had 6 closest friends, the core 6, as they called themselves, because apparently friendship needs branding now. I'd met them all. Brunch girls, spa day girls, girls who had matching gold necklaces with the letter C for Chloe. There was Sophie, the innocent yoga one, Emily and Rachel, competitive sisters, Vanessa, the ice queen, Zara, the wild card, and Lily, the best friend. Each one, in their own way, was exactly the kind of person Chloe thought would never betray her. Eli wrote their names on a piece of paper and slid it across the table like he was showing me an FBI target list. I'm just saying, he smirked, if you do this, she'll never see it coming. I laughed. I said it was ridiculous. I said I wasn't that petty. But then I thought about Brandon and Chloe's laugh in that video. And the fact that she'd probably be sipping mimosas this weekend, telling her friends about how she traded up. Something dark, petty, and beautifully evil clicked in my brain. I picked up the paper. Eli, I said, get me Sophie's number. Eli grinned like the devil had just gotten a promotion. And that's how the plan began. If Chloe's friend group were a pack of wolves, Sophie was the one who looked like she'd stopped to rescue a squirrel instead of chasing the prey. Yoga instructor, vegan, posts daily morning affirmations on her Instagram story. The kind of girl who says, I just want everyone to get along, while holding a crystal that supposedly realigns your aura. And yet, according to Eli's scouting report, yes, he actually made one. Sophie had a thing for me, back when Chloe and I first started dating. This was interesting news. It meant Operation Friend Flip might be easier than anticipated. Step 1. Get Sophie to agree to hang out without Chloe knowing. Eli suggested we fake a meditation emergency. I had no idea what that was, but Eli insisted it was a thing. So I texted her. Me. Hey, this is gonna sound random, but I'm trying to learn meditation for stress and I heard you're the best person to ask. Sophie. OMG, yes. I'd love to help. Chloe always said you were too high energy, lol. High energy? Okay, first target and already there's shade, but whatever. We met at this tiny tea shop that looked like it was decorated by Pinterest itself. Sophie showed up in pastel yoga pants, a matching hoodie, and no makeup, which somehow made her look like she walked out of a skincare commercial. She launched straight into teaching me breathing exercises. I nodded along while thinking, this is the dumbest cover story ever. Then she said, so, you and Chloe. Yeah, over, I said, shrugging. She cheated. Sophie froze. Wait, with Brandon? The way she said his name, you'd think I told her she stepped in dog poop? Yep. Sophie actually rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd pull a muscle. I always told her Brandon was gross. I didn't even need to plant seeds. Sophie was already watering the garden. The conversation shifted to wine. Sophie admitted she was a sucker for a good Malbec. That's when Eli's voice echoed in my head. Wine night. Cheese. Rom-com. Hey, I said, I have a bottle of Malbec at my place, and I was gonna watch this terrible rom-com. Ever seen Love on Roller Skates? Her eyes lit up. That movie's so bad it's amazing. I'm in. Cut to us on my couch. Wine flowing, cheese platter demolished. Both of us yelling at the TV because the main character just agreed to marry a man who lied about being a billionaire and allergic to roller skates. At some point, Sophie leaned in. You know, Chloe never deserved you. And just like that, she kissed. I wish I could say it was planned, that I seduced her with flawless execution like some kind of revenge spot. But honestly, I was just sitting there holding a piece of brie. One thing led to another. And when Sophie left the next morning, she gave me a hug, a smile, and a, don't tell Chloe. Oh, Sophie. By noon, Chloe did know, because Sophie posted a selfie on her Instagram story. It was her, holding my mug that says, World's Okayest Man, captioned, Morning Vibes. Eli showed me the post, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. 1 down, he said. 6 to go. I sat back, sipping my coffee, realizing something dangerous. This wasn't going to be hard. In fact, it was going to be fun. Most people, after pulling off one successful act of petty revenge, would take a break. Maybe regroup, maybe think things through. I am not most people. Because 2 days after Sophie's Morning Vibes selfie detonated Chloe's group chat, Eli looked at me over a plate of pancakes and said, dude, you could totally do Emily and Rachel together. Do them, like, simultaneously? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Eli's face lit up with that unholy raccoon grin. Exactly. Emily and Rachel Matthews, no relation to Chloe, were sisters. Emily was the older one, 27, an interior designer who dressed like every day was an Architectural Digest photo shoot. Rachel, 25, was a fashion blogger who said babe unironically and had a sponsorship with an organic hairbrush company. They were competitive with each other in the way that made family game night an Olympic sport. I once saw them fight over who could cut avocado toast better. The plan, as designed by Eli and fueled by questionable amounts of caffeine, was simple. I'd ask for fashion advice for a fake gala I was attending. Invite both sisters to help me find the perfect look. That way I could flirt with both and see where the chaos took me. In theory, harmless. In practice, well, you'll see. I texted them separately, but gave them the same spiel. Me. Hey, random favor, I've got this big work event coming up and I have no clue what to wear. Emily. OMG. Yes, I'm in. I love a good makeover moment. Rachel. Babe, you came to the right girl. Fast forward to Saturday afternoon and both of them walked into my apartment at the same time. My acting skills were put to the test. Oh, well, I said, faking surprise. I must have double booked you guys. Group effort? The sisters exchanged a look that was half, this is annoying, and half, I'm gonna win. Then the fashion war began. Emily held up a sleek black suit. Rachel pulled out a velvet blazer for a pop of personality. They took turns shoving jackets onto me like I was a runway mannequin at a clearance sale. At one point, Rachel whispered in my ear, don't tell Emily, but you look way better without the shirt. 2 minutes later, Emily murmured, don't tell Rachel, but that shirt's gotta go. Somewhere between outfit number 6 and glass of wine number 3, the competitiveness shifted. It wasn't about clothes anymore. It was about me. Emily sat on the couch, patting the spot next to her. Rachel immediately sat on my other side, draping her arm over the backrest like she was claiming territory. They started telling funny stories about Chloe, which was weirdly bonding. By the time the second bottle of wine was empty, the energy in the room was less fashion advice and more rom-com love triangle. And then, it happened. Emily leaned in, Rachel leaned in. I froze, trying to do the mental geometry of who I was supposed to kiss first, only for both of them to make the decision for me. I'll spare you the logistics, but let's just say I discovered there is absolutely a market for awkward three-way fashion consults. The next morning, I woke up to find Emily had left a note on my kitchen counter. Great taste in wine, terrible taste in blazers. Rachel texted me. You're lucky I like you more than I like winning. Babe. Chloe found out before noon again. Apparently, the sisters met up for brunch and, in true competitive spirit, both bragged about beating the other to me, only to realize they had tied. According to Eli's insider intel, Chloe nearly choked on her mimosa when they told her. Mission success. Eli updated the list, scratching off both names with a flourish. 1, 2, 3 down, he said. We're making history here. Every friend group has that one person who looks like they could sue you for breathing wrong. For Chloe's crew, that person was Vanessa Kingsley. Tall, perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect disdain for anyone making less than 6 figures. She worked in luxury brand consulting, which I'm 90% sure just meant she told rich people which shade of white their yacht should be. Vanessa had always looked at me like I was a dented can of soup at Whole Foods, something that didn't belong but was somehow still in her cart. Vanessa, I said when Eli pointed to her name on the list, she thinks I'm garbage. Exactly, Eli replied. Flip her, and it's the biggest win yet. The problem was, Vanessa didn't go to dive bars, game nights, or anywhere you could just bump into her. She went to charity galas, art exhibits, things with valet parking. Lucky for me, Eli's cousin dated a guy who DJ'd at one of Vanessa's charity events. One shameless favor call later, and I was on the guest list for Hearts for Habitat, a fundraiser where wealthy people drink champagne while pretending to know how houses are built. Step 1. Dress like I belong. Emily and Rachel's earlier consultation came in handy. I wore the black suit Emily picked, and yes, I wore the shirt this time. Step 2. Approach Vanessa without sounding like a stalker. She was standing by the bar, holding a martini and looking at a silent auction item, a luxury safari trip starting at $25,000. Thinking bidding? I asked, sliding up beside her. She glanced at me, smirked. Jake Thompson, Chloe's ex. That's me, I said, sipping champagne like I did this every Thursday. Vanessa tilted her head. I assumed you wouldn't be caught dead at an event like this. I assumed you'd be too busy making sure Chloe doesn't steal someone else's boyfriend. I shot back. Her martini paused halfway to her lips. Then slowly, she smiled. Touché, we talked. And by talked, I mean I let her rant about how people don't understand true style, while I nodded and made just enough sarcastic comments to keep her amused. 3 drinks later, she leaned in and said, You know, Chloe told me you cheated on her first. I blinked. What? She said that's why she moved on. I actually laughed. Moved on to Brandon? Vanessa shrugged. Her words, not mine, but I never believed her. It hit me then Chloe wasn't just cheating. She'd been rewriting the whole breakup story to make me the villain. I didn't know whether to be angry or impressed. Either way, I decided Vanessa was definitely getting crossed off the list tonight. We left the gala together. She insisted we take her driver because of course she had one. Back at her penthouse, she poured wine that probably cost more than my rent. I'm not saying what happened next was inevitable, but when someone who owns a $4,000 coffee table says, stay for another glass, you stay for another glass. The next morning, Vanessa handed me an espresso and said, You should know, I'm not telling Chloe about this, not yet. I smirked. Oh, she'll find out. She did about 4 hours later when Vanessa's personal assistant posted an Instagram story of the two of us on her balcony. It wasn't even subtle. When Eli saw it, he just whistled. That's 4, my man. You're speedrunning this. But this one felt different. Because now, it wasn't just revenge for the cheating. It was revenge for every lie Chloe had ever told about me. Some people have an energy that says, if you hang out with me, you will either have the best night of your life or be arrested by sunrise. That's Zara. She was the self-proclaimed fun one of Chloe's friend group. If there was karaoke at 3 a.m., Zara was there. If there was a club opening with a guest list of 50, she somehow got 51 in. If there was an empty rooftop, she'd bring a speaker and turn it into a dance floor. I once saw her shotgun a can of Red Bull and then try to convince Chloe to buy a jet ski on Facebook Marketplace. She's gonna be easy, Eli said. She's also gonna be dangerous, I countered. Dangerous is where legends are made. Step 1. Give her an excuse to take me out. I texted Zara. Me, hey, I think I forgot how to have fun. Need a guide. Zara, babe, put on shoes you can run in. I'll be there in 15. I barely had time to grab my wallet before she pulled up in a convertible blasting 90s pop music. The night started at a dive bar that smelled like whiskey and bad decisions. We did tequila shots, then more tequila shots. Then Zara decided we needed to warm up our vocal cords and dragged me to karaoke. I don't remember choosing Total Eclipse of the Heart, but apparently I sang it with enough passion that an old man at the bar yelled, "She wasn't worth it." From there, things escalated. Zara said she knew a secret party, which turned out to be a mechanical bull competition at a cowboy-themed club. I'd never been on a mechanical bull before, but somehow, tequila gave me the confidence of a man who had. I lasted 8 seconds before flying off into a padded wall, which Zara recorded and immediately posted on TikTok with the caption, "When your rebound thinks he's Luke Skywalker, but he's actually Luke Skyfaller." Within an hour, it had 30,000 views. Somewhere between the bull and the third fire alarm. Yes, there were 3 don't ask. Zara kissed me. It was sudden, messy, and somehow made perfect sense in the chaos of the night. We stumbled back to my place at sunrise. By noon, Zara was gone, leaving behind nothing but a sequin jacket and an open bag of Cheetos. Chloe found out instantly. Not because Zara told her, but because everyone had seen the TikTok. Eli showed me her group chat screenshots from a mutual friend. "Chloe, is Jake with Zara now?" "Vanessa, check TikTok." "Rachel, lol. Eli crossed Zara's name off the list with a dramatic flourish. "That's 5 down," he said. 2 to go. You've officially outpettied 99% of the population. But I knew the last 2 would be the hardest. Because next was Lily. Thanksgiving at my parents' house was always an awkward affair, but this year, I had a bad feeling in my gut before I even rang the doorbell. The air was cold, crisp, with that faint smell of roasted turkey wafting from the open window. I knocked twice, and the door swung open to reveal my sister, Lily, grinning like a cat that had just cornered a mouse. "Look who finally decided to join us," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Inside, the dining table was covered in the kind of feast you'd expect from a cooking magazine. Golden turkey, mashed potatoes piled high, stuffing, cranberry sauce, pies cooling on the counter. But the warmth of the food didn't match the energy in the room. Everyone was already seated, and I noticed something unusual. A large, leather-bound notebook sitting in the middle of the table. Dad cleared his throat. "We thought we'd talk about something important before dinner." That gut feeling turned into a knot. "All right, what's this about?" Lily leaned forward, her voice suddenly sweet but fake. "We know about your finances." I froze. My mind instantly raced. I'd been careful. I'd kept my life private. I never flashed wealth around them. I even drove a regular sedan when visiting. Dad continued, "We had a little chat with Aunt May last month. She mentioned you've done quite well for yourself." I shot an inward curse toward Aunt May, bless her heart, but she had no filter. My mom's face softened, but not in a good way. More like a salesman about to pitch something big. "We think it's time you gave back to the family, especially to your sister. She's struggling with student loans and, well, she deserves a better life too." I felt the heat rise in my chest. "So let me get this straight. You all ignored me for years, barely supported me when I was scraping by, and now you want to cut because you found out I'm doing well?" Lily slammed her hand on the table. "It's not a cut. It's family. You've been selfish, keeping all that money to yourself while I've been drowning in debt." I raised an eyebrow. "Debt from what? You live in a luxury apartment and post vacation pictures every other week." She looked momentarily flustered, but quickly regained her composure. "That's beside the point." Mom jumped in, her voice a little too calm. "We're not asking, we're telling you. You will help your sister." Something in me snapped. I leaned back in my chair, smiled slightly, and said, "No." The silence after that word was deafening. You could hear the ticking of the old clock in the hallway. Lily's face turned red. "You're unbelievable. You wouldn't even be successful if it weren't for us raising you." I chuckled bitterly. "You mean raising me to believe I was second class compared to her? Raising me to expect nothing from you but criticism?" Dad's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake. Family sticks together." I locked eyes with him. "Funny. That's not what you believed when I was living in a cockroach-infested apartment and you refused to co-sign for my student loans." Lily pushed back her chair, standing now, fists clenched. "If you won't give it willingly, we'll make sure you regret it." And that's when I realized this wasn't just about money. This was about control. They didn't just want a check. They wanted me back under their thumb. I smiled again, but this time it wasn't friendly. Try me. The tension in that dining room could have been cut with the carving knife. Dinner that night? I barely touched my food. My appetite was gone, but my determination, that was sharper than ever. They had no idea what they'd just started. The morning after Thanksgiving felt eerily quiet, like the house itself was holding its breath. I sat at my kitchen counter, staring at my untouched coffee. knowing this wasn't over. In fact, it had barely begun. My phone was still buzzing. Texts from my sister, my parents, and now, even extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years. The first message I read made me laugh out loud, though it wasn't funny. Aunt Linda, your sister deserves this. You're single. You don't need all that money. The audacity was beyond belief. This was a woman who hadn't so much as sent me a Christmas card since I was 12. And now she suddenly felt entitled to weigh in on my finances? I was still shaking my head when my doorbell rang. I opened the door to find my best friend Mark holding a bag of bagels and a look that said, "Yeah, I heard." "I brought carbs," he said, stepping inside, "because you're going to need them for what's coming." "What's coming?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. He didn't say a word. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed me a Facebook post my sister had made. There it was in black and white. "My own brother is letting me drown in student debt while he sits on millions. Some people have no heart." And the comments? Oh, they were gold. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in over a decade were calling me selfish. Old neighbors were chipping in with, "I always knew he was stuck up." And one guy even suggested I must have scammed someone to get the money in the first place. "That's libel," I said, almost laughing again, but this time it wasn't from humor. Mark raised an eyebrow. "So what's your move? Ignore it or go nuclear?" I took a deep breath. This was my family, but the line had been crossed the second they decided to drag me in public. They wanted to play this game? Fine. I was about to show them I knew the rules better than anyone. I grabbed my phone, scrolled to my lawyer's contact, and hit call. When he picked up, I kept my voice calm. "Hey, James. I think we need to have a conversation about slander, harassment, and maybe a restraining order." There was silence on the other end for a beat, then a slow, knowing chuckle. "Looks like we're finally doing this, huh?" "Oh, we're doing it," I said, staring at my sister's post one last time before shutting my phone off. "And they're not going to see it coming." The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not in temperature, though the AC was working overtime, but in the way the air felt heavy, like every breath carried the weight of everything my family had done to me. I sat at the plaintiff's table, my lawyer beside me, flipping through notes as if he'd been rehearsing this day his entire life. Across from me, my parents and my sister sat like they were the victims here, their lawyer whispering in their ears, probably telling them to keep the crocodile tears flowing. The judge walked in, and the quiet tension was sliced clean in half by the sound of the gavel. "Court is now in session." My lawyer started. He didn't waste time. "Your Honor, this case isn't about money. It's about betrayal. It's about a family who discarded their son like a broken toy, then came crawling back when they found out he'd built something worth stealing." My father shifted uncomfortably in his seat. My mother wouldn't even look at me. My sister, on the other hand, looked like she was auditioning for a soap opera, eyes glassy, lips trembling, except I'd seen her smirk in the parking lot earlier. We laid out the receipts. Every bank statement, every message, every email where they talked about how much they could get out of me once they handled me emotionally. The moment that hit hardest, a text from my father to my mother that read, "Once we get the money for her education, he'll serve his purpose. After that, we don't need to keep up the act." Gasps erupted from the small audience. My mother's head dropped into her hands, and my sister shot daggers at my father. When it was my turn to speak, I stood. No papers, no notes, just my voice. I used to think family was about unconditional love. I thought no matter how far apart we were, we'd always be there for each other. But then I learned the truth. Some people see family as a bank account, and when they can't make a deposit, they disappear. My father's eyes hardened, but I didn't care. "You threw me away because I didn't fit your picture-perfect family. And now you're here because you think you're entitled to what I earned. But the thing is, my success was built without you, in spite of you. And today, I'm making sure it stays that way." The judge delivered the verdict. Full legal protection of my assets, a restraining order preventing them from contacting me. And the cherry on top? My lawyer had already filed for defamation damages for the lies they'd been spreading about me in the process. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, cameras flashed, someone shouted, "What do you want to say to your family?" I paused, glanced back at the courthouse steps where they stood, defeated, and simply said, "They made me an orphan long before the law did." I walked away without looking back. That night, I sat in my apartment with a glass of wine, city lights stretching endlessly beyond my balcony. My phone buzzed. Friends sending congratulatory messages, my girlfriend sending me a picture of her holding up takeout with the caption "celebration feast." For the first time in years, I felt truly free. No more begging for love that wasn't real. No more proving myself to people who never cared. And as the city hummed below me, I realized something: family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who choose to stand with you when you have nothing to give but yourself. And those people, they're worth everything.